The True Crime Society podcast contains adult themes and violence and is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of True Crime Society podcast with Stephanie and Olivia. It is still June 16th. We're double recording. I know we've been saying that. I think this is our last double recording. Then we'll be back to normal. I know it's normal for you guys, but not normal for us. And not to be the bearer of bad news, but next week we won't have an episode.
Gonna have a week off to recharge, do some kind of behind the scenes work on the podcast, and get ready for the next half of the year.
Yeah, and then we'll be back in action full time.
Back to regular scheduling after that.
Yes. So we didn't give a weather update on our last June 16th episode. I don't think we didn't. We didn't do an Elmo one.
Well, yeah, I can do it now. So Elmo is still around. He's still making his way up the road. I've actually been quite busy this week. So by the time I get home in the afternoon, he's usually, I guess, back in his little house wherever he lives. So, but he's still around. He's still eating all the worms and grubs or whatever he eats. He's still around. He just hasn't been around at our place as much, which is a bit sad. But anyway, still makes my day every time I see him.
Elmo watch. You need like a shirt, like the Baywatch lifeguard ones.
I just saw someone sent us a message on our Instagram, and they would listen it into the podcast, and it was something like, "Can't wait for this week's Elmo update," or the Elmo Chronicles, or something like that.
Oh my gosh, we need Elmo to do something more exciting.
Yes,
besides just exist.
Actually, this is kind of funny. I did see, I think it was a Uber Eats ad, maybe. This is a random kind of segue, but an Uber Eats ad. I don't know if Paris Hilton does a lot of the ads here. Anyway, so she's in an ad for Uber Eats, I'm pretty sure, with the Irwins, like, you know, Bindi and Robert Irwin.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've seen that, I think.
Yeah, and Robert's holding this giant echidna.
Oh, yeah.
So
I never really thought about it.
If you have a look, that's what a big giant echidna looks like.
I think they play it here, or maybe I saw it online or something, but I've definitely seen it.
Yeah.
Ugh. Oh my god, my butt hurts so bad from sitting in this chair. Anyway, since we're double recording, I know the one time we did a random question, so we're gonna do another random question just for the fucking fun of it. And so we decided the random question would be, if you could be one animal for a day or something, what would it be?
I feel like my first answer that pops into my head would be a dog, because dogs have the life. They sleep on the couch, but then I guess I could just do that anyway as a human. So I don't know, my other answer would probably be like a dolphin or something, because the deep sea honestly terrifies me as a human.
I think it would terrify me as a dolphin too.
So I'd love to go and just check it out for a day and then be done.
I think it's funny that you said dog, because my first answer would be a cat, because I feel like cats even have it easier than dogs. Like, dogs you can train and they can like learn stuff. Cats are just like, fuck you, this is me, this is how I am, take it or leave it. Like, when my cats are being bad, I'd try to tell them to stop being bad, but they don't care. And I feel like that's how most cats are. They sleep all day, they bask in the sun, they harass you for food on a schedule. They just get what they fucking want when they want it. My fun answer would be, I think, like a sea otter, because whenever you see sea otters at aquariums or even videos of them in the wild, they just look like they're having so much fun, like twirling around, eating their little clams and floating and twirling. They just look so cute, and I just want to be cute and happy and fun.
That's a good answer. A sloth would be quite a good one. They always seem quite fun, and they always look like they're smiling.
But then they have the worry of, like, if they fall to the ground, they're like toast because they're such easy prey.
Yes, that's true.
All right, well, that was fun.
Hope you've learned a bit more about us.
I hope that you guys had fun too. All right, so just get right into it from there. This episode, we are going to talk about vacation nightmares, which aren't necessarily all crimes, but there's always some weird vacation deaths. Like, we've seen some recently where all those people died at that resort. And
In
last year
Mexico.
there,
What was it?
yeah,
Jamaica, actually. Jamaica, I think.
yeah. And then last year there was some where there was like toxic alcohol. So some will just be like kind of weird deaths, some will be actual crimes, but we figured it was on brand since it's vacation time of year. So we got to put the fear in you guys to be careful on your trips.
I think when I was looking into notes for this, we've actually kind of covered a few vacation nightmares already. Like obviously Gabby and Brian would be one. Judy Smith, who's another case that we discussed a little while ago, would also be one. She went missing while on vacation with her husband and was found like hundreds and hundreds of miles away, deceased in a national forest. So yeah, it's crazy just what actually happens sometimes. I don't know if it's because people let their guard down or I don't know, maybe the decreased routine and stability, as well as, increased alcohol use when you're on holidays, maybe might contribute a bit to it.
I think there's just like more pressure to like do fun things. You're like, I'm on vacation, like I need to do this excursion or like go out and like make the most of it, because we only get one vacation a year because fuck the American work system. But we got to make the most of it.
And I guess too, a lot of the times it's been like in Gabby and Brian's case, and in a few of the cases that we're going to discuss today too, it's literally been in a room, like, or a small space. Like Gabby and Brian were in the van, confined in a room with someone who you may have an argument with, or, those type of things also would contribute.
Yeah, like you don't get like a break from like your significant other or your family members or whoever you're there with, really.
Yeah.
All right, now let's get into these vacation nightmares. So the first one we're going to start with is about Anne Korkki and Robin Korkki. So Anne is referred to as Annie. She was 37 years old and her sister Robin was 41 when they left to go on a dream African vacation. They planned to travel through Kenya, Tanzania, and Zanzibar. Their final stop was due to be a luxury island resort in the Seychelles. Annie worked at JP Morgan Chase in Denver, Colorado, and Robin worked as a financial trader in Chicago. They were both said to be in good physical condition and were experienced travelers. The sisters posted on social media about their trip. They left for Africa on September 1st, 2016. So according to Seychelles Nation, the sisters planned on vacationing at their final stop at the Mile Luxury Resort and Spa from September 15th to the 22nd, but apparently they were having such a great time they decided to extend their trip until the 24th. On September 20th, Annie, she posted a comment on her Facebook and said to someone, "Wish you were here. Seriously, best trip ever." So it seems like they were having a grand time. Rooms at this hotel cost around $2,000 per night, so very expensive.
Do you want me to read a few reviews?
Yeah. Of course, we had to get the reviews.
As usual, I found some. So it gets 5 out of 5 stars on TripAdvisor, which is very, very, very rare.
The opposite of our usual reviews.
So here's one. It says, "Wow, what a place. Incredible hotel, views, food, hospitality. Nothing could have been better. We had a premier villa for our honeymoon. They were incredible hosts, so friendly, and made sure that our stay was the most memorable by organizing different experiences for us. It was just perfect. Highly recommend." And then there was another one that says, "Flawless hotel with impeccable service and food. The anything, anywhere experience is unbeatable. The staff goes above and beyond to fulfill all of your requests. What makes the hotel special is the people. The management is present and caring. The staff is endearing and always here to help." So it sounds like a lovely, and the photos are amazing. So it sounds like a beautiful, beautiful place.
Would love to go if I wasn't living in poverty. Just kidding. I'm not living in poverty, just close to it. So yeah, sounds like a nice place. Their brother, Chris Korkki, he told the Star Tribune that his sisters were healthy and adventurous and definitely wanted to experience life to the fullest. So basically all of the background on that seems like they weren't like novices or rookies or naive travelers.
It seemed like, they were quite well educated. They'd done tons of traveling before. This wasn't just a random trip that they had no idea how to act or anything like that in the country. They were very seasoned travelers.
Yeah. On the day/night of September 21st, it's been reported that the sisters were seen drinking at bars throughout the hotel. And from the sounds of things, they got pretty intoxicated. And some reports say they were helped back to their room by their butler. It seems like the butler service kind of came with the room, one of those like all-inclusive
Yeah, you get like a
type things.
dedicated butler
Yeah.
to look after you. Yeah.
Yes. The following day, September 22nd, the butler returned to the room around 8:45 a.m. and he noticed that the door was still kind of locked in the exact way he left it, which is like weird to me. I guess I've never been to such a luxury resort, but I'm like, all the doors, no matter who locks them, look the same to me, you know?
Maybe he even like meant things like, you know, if there was blinds or shutters, like, do you know what I mean? Like basically I
Yeah.
just take it to mean that nothing had moved since the night before.
Like, it didn't look like they had awoken.
Yeah.
So he assumed they were still sleeping, so he left. He returned to the villa midday and became a little alarmed when he noticed that there still didn't seem to be any movement. So he informed his supervisor, and that started the chain of events leading to the police eventually being called. When the staff or police entered the sisters' villa, both of the women were found unresponsive. Most reports that we've seen say that they were found laying in the same bed. The police spokesperson, Jean Toussaint, said, "From the observation done by our police officers, there was no disturbance in the room, and the two sisters were found unresponsive on the same bed. Preliminary exams conducted on the women didn't indicate any signs of violence or a struggle. Medications in the room were confiscated by police for further investigation." Jean Toussaint, the police spokesperson, also said, "What the police can say about the investigation so far is that the two sisters were consuming alcohol throughout the day. And the last time they were seen drinking alcohol was around 6:45, and they were helped to their bedroom by hotel personnel around 8:15 p.m. On September 30th, 2016, preliminary causes of death for the women were released. Robin died of an acute pulmonary edema, which is excess fluid in the lungs, and Anne died from acute pulmonary and cerebral edema, which is brain swelling, and it causes fluid in the brain, so it swells. Both Annie's lungs and brain were full of fluid, but the excess fluid was only found in Robin's lungs. The police spokesperson said officials hope to learn more from a toxicology report that's currently being processed at a lab on Mauritius. The autopsy determined there were no visible signs of injuries found on the bodies. Dr. Judy Melnick told the Chicago Tribune that when we see pulmonary edema, I don't know why I always have to say it like it's a question. When we see pulmonary edema, it's a non-specific finding you see in lots of different things. So if you have an elderly person, it could be from heart failure. So like it's kind of the cause. I mean, it's like the result of a lot of
Something
different things that could have
else, yeah.
happened. She said poison or drug use could also have been a cause. The brother, Chris Korkki, he said, "We still don't know how they died. The U.S. Embassy has been incredibly helpful, but there are more questions than answers." On December 3rd, 2016, a final ruling was made in the deaths of Anne and Robin. It says, according to the statement, Robin Marie Korkki, 42, died of acute pulmonary edema due to acute combined drug intoxication. And it says the drugs are codeine, morphine, and alcohol, while Anne Marie Korkki, 37, died of acute pulmonary and cerebral edema due to acute combined drug intoxication, which is codeine, morphine, and alcohol, so the same things. The manner of death of both sisters has been determined to be accidental. So Anne had been a member of the Denver Synchronicity, which is a skating team, and they said that she was a beautiful skater with a bright smile, infectious laugh, and an absolute love for life. They said, "We lost a beautiful spirit far too soon. We will miss you dearly, Annie. This season is for you."
It still just always blows my mind when there's a double accidental overdose like this. Like, how could they both have taken, do you know what I mean? Like the right amount of drugs to die, but not on purpose. It just always is crazy to me that this can actually happen.
I wonder how much they had. Maybe it was just like a lot.
And like these days, you know, with fentanyl and things like that, especially with fentanyl, it's less surprising, but they had no fentanyl in their system. They literally had codeine and morphine, which, you know, I'm assuming were probably prescription drugs plus alcohol. It's just crazy that one of them didn't survive. I don't know. It just
like
is
codeine's normally in like cough medicine and stuff.
Yeah, and you hear,
like
I don't know if it's
medicine.
this. Yeah, here like you can get kind of stronger painkillers with codeine in them. They've regulated codeine here, so to get it, you can still get it kind of over the counter at a pharmacy, but they take your details. So you have to show your license so that you can't go and buy 20 packs of codeine a day and things like that.
Yeah, same here. Like sometimes I'll be buying a medication and I don't even know it's in it, and the little auto machine's like, "We need to see your ID." I'm like, annoying.
It's just, yeah, it's crazy. I would have, yeah, I don't know. I'm just puzzled still by that one.
That's like what we were saying is like sometimes on vacation people just go too hard. You're like you got to make the best of it, just having a fun time and overindulge.
Yeah.
So be careful on your vacations.
Yes, don't mix your drugs and your alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So the next case we're going to discuss is the murder of a woman named Kristy Manzanares. You may kind of be familiar with the last final image of Kristy. She can be seen with a suitcase. She's got like a coffee or a drink. She's smiling. This is when they're boarding the cruise ship. It was July 23rd, 2017. Kristy boarded an Alaska-bound cruise ship called the Emerald Princess, which is a Princess Cruise Lines ship. She was with her family, which was her husband, Kenneth, and their 3 daughters. I've also read that there were a lot of other kind of extended family on the trip, and they were kind of a very large group.
It kind of seemed like a family reunion almost type thing, or like big family trip.
Just for some background into them, Kenny's LinkedIn, Kenneth Kenny, said he was working as a licensed sales producer for an insurance company. He had previously worked as a general manager for a company selling folding tables and chairs, which is very specific. He said also that he had an associate's degree from Broadview University in sports and exercise. Kenny also had a profile on a Utah bail bond site. It said Kenny has spent the last 12 years living and working in St. George, Utah. Kenny has 3 daughters and has been married for 13 years, which I think is a little bit old by this point. Kristy was a native of Utah, and it says she made her way to St. George by way of Southern Utah University. She has a bachelor's degree in family and consumer science with an emphasis in interior design. She's also a realtor, and this information is from her website bio. It says her past experience includes community association and resort management, in which she learned the importance of building relationships and trust through constant communication and top-notch customer service. Her love of touring new homes, interior decor, and a desire to provide positive experiences to new home buyers prompted her to obtain her real estate license in 2010. So I believe when they went on this cruise, Kristy and Kenny had been married for around 20 years. Their anniversary would have been in August 2017. I have seen it reported in some articles that the cruise ship was actually an anniversary cruise, but other articles have said, no, that's not the case. Doesn't really matter, but I just thought I'd put that in. So just for some context, there were 3,400 guests on the ship and 1,100 employees. There's a complaint and affidavit, which I'll put on the blog, but it says that the FBI received a telephone call on June 25, which was just 2 days after they got on the ship, at around 10:13 p.m. from a company security officer for Holland America Group who, quote, advised that had been appeared what to be a homicide aboard the cruise ship Emerald Princess. A witness named Jen Larson spoke to ABC, and she said, they just said security breach, security breach. We could tell by the sound of his voice that it was something really scary and really serious. Other witnesses spoke to ABC and said that they heard a woman screaming for her life. And Jen Larson said that she also saw one of Kristy's daughters screaming. She said she was really scared. She just said, I want to go and see my mum. I just want to see my mum. What's happening? Another witness spoke to a news agency called KTUU, and he said, I get to floor 9 and I see this little girl sitting on, I assume her grandmother or somebody, sitting on her lap wrapped in a blanket, and she's just sobbing. A man came out from the hallway where it happened, and he had a white tank top on and some jeans. His jeans were completely covered in blood, and he came out saying, it's not good, it's not good.
Poor kids. Ugh.
Oh, God, I can't even, and like, I don't know, have you ever been on a cruise?
No.
The cabins are tiny. Like, it's not like
I've seen pictures.
Yeah, it's not like, even if they had an adjoining cabin, it still would have been tiny. Like, there's no way they wouldn't have known what was going on. A witness told security that he went into the couple's cabin and he saw Kristy on the floor covered in blood. When he saw Kenny with blood on his hands and clothing, he asked what happened, and Kenneth said, she would not stop laughing at me. Kenneth then allegedly grabbed Kristy's body and dragged it towards the cabin's balcony. The witness told security that he himself grabbed Kristy's ankles and pulled her back inside the cabin, and just moments later security arrived. So I'm guessing maybe Kenny's half-assed plan was to throw her overboard, maybe. I don't know what he would have been thinking.
Like, totally unhinged.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a romantic wedding anniversary cruise to Alaska, but the FBI says it ended in murder. 39-year-old Kristy Manzanares was killed in her cabin on the Emerald Princess in what the FBI says was a domestic dispute. Her husband, Kenneth, is in custody. Kristy had a severe head wound and blood was spread throughout the room, says an FBI criminal complaint. Her husband allegedly told the witness, "She would not stop laughing at me. My life is over." Kenneth Manzanares reportedly tried to jump overboard but was restrained by the ship's crew. Kristy and Kenneth were celebrating 18 years of marriage. Their 3 teenage daughters were with them. Passenger Chris Seaman.
One of the little girls from that room came running out calling for help, that her parents had been in a fight.
I spoke with family member Casey Hunt in Utah.
Emotionally, it's just hard to comprehend having someone so sweet and so perfect taken in the prime of their life like that.
When he was being processed by the FBI, Kenneth said over and over, "My life is over." There's a random source who told people that Kristy told Kenneth she wanted a divorce on the night he killed her. The source said he had been acting terrible all night, and that after Kristy asked for a divorce, Kenneth snapped and killed her. KTUU has reported that Kristy was found with a severe head wound in a room in which blood was spread throughout on multiple surfaces. She was pronounced dead at the scene approximately 20 minutes later. So the FBI was notified of the incident around 11 p.m. and they sent 12 agents to investigate. Information that came out later gave some details about what likely happened on that night. 2 of Kenneth and Kristy's daughter were in the cabin. Kenneth told them to leave the room and they both went to an adjoining relative's cabin. A few minutes later, the daughters heard their mum screaming and tried to get to her but were told by their father, "Don't come in here." They went to the connected balcony and saw their father straddling their mother on the bed while pounding her head with closed fists. The case moved slowly. Kenneth first pled not guilty in August 2017, but by February 2020, he changed his mind and he pled guilty to second-degree murder. In June 2021, he was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years of supervised release. Kenneth had asked for a much shorter 7.5-year sentence and said that he had bipolar disorder and brain abnormalities. In a court filing, it said that their brain abnormalities were caused by playing contact sports, which is kind of, I guess, on topic for us with our CTE episode. That combined with what at the time was undiagnosed bipolar and a problematic combination of prescribed medication and alcohol resulted in an aberrant episode of violence. Kenneth had also played football, wrestled, and boxed when he was younger and had a history of testosterone supplementation. So I don't really think that's an excuse, but
just
maybe
a lot of excuses, basically.
Yeah.
Didn't they also say, or was it like a rumor? Maybe I'm thinking of something else that he like used like the ladder or something.
I don't know. I haven't
bunk
heard that.
bed. I swear they're saying that he used like the bunk bed ladder. No, nothing's jumping out. Maybe that was just something.
Wouldn't surprise me,
like,
though.
Yeah, maybe that was just something people were saying at the time.
Speculating. So the acting U.S. Attorney Brian Wilson of the District of Alaska said that the murder was not a random act of violence but was a chilling neglect for human life. He said, "While today's sentence will not bring Kristy back to her family, we hope it provides a sense of justice for this heinous crime and brings some closure to those who knew and care about her." Kenneth's attorney said in some court documents that the children hold him responsible, but they also understand that his impairments played a major factor in the events that occurred and that they've already lost one parent. He spoke in court as in Kenneth. He broke down in tears, saying he loved his daughters and his wife and described Kristy as his soulmate. He said he was sorry for murdering her and hoped over time he could be forgiven. So despite all this, Kenneth didn't spend much time in prison because in July 2021, which was just 1 month after he was sentenced, he was found dead in his cell. A statement was released and it said Kenneth, 43, was found unresponsive in his cell at the Lemon Creek Correctional Centre around 7 a.m. Wednesday and could not be revived. I haven't been able to find a cause of death for Kenneth. I suspect he probably hanged himself, because you wouldn't have access to much else to take your own life. That would be my suggestion for that. There is no obituary for Kristy online, and Kenneth is mentioned in it. It says, "Her infectious, beautiful smile and sweet, compassionate soul will forever be remembered by all who knew Kristy. She made everyone who came in contact with her feel important, special, and put a smile on their face. Because of that, she was adored by all, and we are blessed to have had Kristy in our lives. Kristy is survived by her 3 daughters and her husband, Kenneth."
I was just looking more about the ladder thing, and
Yeah.
like I do see it mentioned places. Like one place is, of course, fucking web sluts. But someone said on web sleuths, if we don't all know, I hate them. There are different reports on how he killed her. I've read several times that he bashed her with the removable metal ladder on the bunk beds. And like just looking through Google, like I just searched her name and ladder. There's other things that more seems like forums kind of. Like another person said he beat her with the ladder to the Pullman bed. Drunk husband murdered his wife with bunk bed step ladder. So I don't know if that's true or not. It seems like people got it from somewhere, and I do remember
we've
hearing
had
that,
to come
but
from somewhere.
kind of seems like that's kind of dropped out of the narrative now. So I don't know.
It's very sad for those poor 3 girls who have lost their whole family now. They're, their parents. So
Yeah, I remember that one like when it happened because it was just so like, what the fuck?
And I was still so shocked when he died because it was still a long time after Kristy had died. It was just, a bit of a shock to hear that he had also passed away.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you're like, really? Like, I wanted you to suffer in prison forever.
Oh God, he served a whole month in the end of his sentence.
Okay, the next one we're going to talk about is Carla Valpeoz. We first did a blog on Carla and started following her case in 2019, and we are sad to say that she is still missing to this day in 2022. She was a 35-year-old American woman who went missing in Peru in 2018. She was legally blind and she used a cane to get around, but despite her condition, she was very independent, and her goal was to see as much of the world as possible before her eyesight totally disappeared. So she wasn't totally blind, but legally blind, just to clarify. Yeah. She was diagnosed at age 10 with cone rod dystrophy, a condition that causes a person's vision to deteriorate over time. So according to CNN, by December 2018, Carla had traveled to about 20 countries by herself, which is like, I hate being like, that's so brave because like we should be able to travel, but with a disability and by herself, to me that's very brave because
especially
I would be so scared.
A sight disability, like
yeah,
it's crazy that she and great that she was able to get to 20 countries.
Yeah, it's dumb, but not well. It's not dumb. I feel like it's a valid fear, but it's dumb of me to bring up right now. I always think like in the middle of the night if something happened, because for those who don't know, I wear contacts and I'm not legally blind, but I don't know how I'm not legally blind because I can't see anything without my contacts or glasses. My prescription is like a -9 something, which is really, really bad. But I think like in the middle of the night, like what if something happened and I couldn't get my contacts? Like if I was abducted or like if there was a fire, I'd be so screwed. Or if there's a zombie apocalypse, like what am I gonna do? So that's why to me, like being able to travel so much, being technically legally blind is like amazing.
Yeah.
She studied Arabic in Egypt, worked with abandoned children in Yemen, and traveled to remote villages in Indonesia to advocate for indigenous women. Her family said she always dreamed of visiting Peru, but she hadn't been there yet. So when Carla heard that her friend Alicia was intending to travel to Lima to take part in a wedding, she jumped at the chance to tag along with her. Carla bought an outfit for the wedding, and she set off with her friend in December 2018. Like, Carla, were you invited to the wedding? Like relax. Carla spent the last part of their vacation by herself hiking Machu Picchu. Even though Alicia advised her that she shouldn't go alone, Carla set off. There was a window of panic where nobody could get in touch with her, but finally, after 12 hours of silence, Carla replied. She said the Wi-Fi was terrible, but that she was fine. There was one strange text to Alicia that said, I had a big issue that I need to resolve that I'll do it before I get home. Alicia last heard from Carla on December 11th, 2018 via text where Carla spoke of her travels. She said, I can't wait to tell you all about it. It was absolutely worth it, 100%. After that, her family didn't hear from Carla for a few days, but they didn't panic until she missed her flight back home. CCTV showed Carla leaving the hostel where she was staying in a cab in the early morning hours of December 12th. She hadn't told any of her new traveling companions where she was going, and she left behind her belongings, including medications, in the hostel, so it seemed like she intended to return. Later, police would learn that she had taken 2 cabs. The first driver dropped Carla off at Cusco Street, where people ride shared taxis headed to the Sacred Valley. The other driver said Carla was in his collective taxi. She got off in the valley's first village, Pisac. It's kind of, it's like sounds dumb again to be like, it's good that she had this cane and stuff, because I bet
Yeah.
it made her more memorable.
More distinctive.
Yeah, like for these, I'm sure these cab drivers see a billion people a day, but when you see someone and she has a cane, and it's easier for you to remember because she stands out more.
Yeah, out of the ordinary.
A camera outside of a drugstore in Pisac captured the last known image of Carla. It shows her walking quickly with her silver folding cane for 14 seconds. This was about an hour after she left the hostel. She was heading in the direction of the Pisac Archaeological Park. It's a 22,000-acre historical site, so it's a big area with a lot of space.
Yeah.
There's Incan ruins, tunnels, massive agricultural terraces, so a lot going on there. No sign of Carla has been seen since. None of her belongings have been found. Carla's family have searched tirelessly for her since they heard of her disappearance. Peruvian police first pursued the idea that something happened to Carla in the park. They used drones and cadaver dogs but didn't find anything. A team of Peruvian police detectives are currently working together to find Carla, along with a special prosecutor, and they now believe that Carla never made it into the park, actually. They believe someone took or lured her to one of the many ritual sites in the region where tourists try an intensely hallucinogenic and sometimes deadly potion known as ayahuasca.
The hallucination-inducing drug ayahuasca has been used for centuries by tribes in South America during spiritual ceremonies, but as it becomes more mainstream for those seeking optic and auditory hallucinations, what exactly is it and how does it affect your body and brain? Ayahuasca is actually a combination of the leaves of one plant and the vines of another, neither of which have any hallucinogenic power on their own, but the leaves do contain DMT, which is structurally similar to your neurotransmitter serotonin and to the chemical found in magic mushrooms. The problem is your gut enzymes normally deactivate DMT before it's absorbed into your bloodstream, and this is where the vines come in. They inhibit your gut enzymes from working properly and allow DMT to travel within your blood and eventually cross the blood-brain barrier. The effects of the drink usually hit around half an hour after consumption, with hallucinations peaking after 1 hour and subsiding within 4 to 6 hours. But these hallucinations are reported to be different from drugs like LSD and shrooms in that most people are fully aware that they're visually hallucinating. In addition, instead of hearing voices, the sounds heard are usually exasperations of the noises already occurring around them. And unlike those who consume LSD or shrooms for a good trip, many who drink ayahuasca are seeking to reconcile with their thoughts and emotions, as well as past and present traumatic events. Afterwards, most feel more at ease with their thoughts and more accepting of their present situation.
Carla's family disputes that she would have wanted to take drugs. They believe Carla was sexually assaulted, kidnapped, or was the victim of either human or organ trafficking. Her brother said, "I have no doubt in my mind that my sister was a victim of a crime." There's other tourists that have been reported missing from the area. There was 2 men who were arrested a few weeks after 28-year-old Natalie Salazar Ayala went missing. They claimed she had died in a zipline accident and that they dumped her body in a river, yet her body was never located. Jesse Galganov disappeared while backpacking in the Peruvian mountains in 2017. So the question is, what happened to Carla? Did her failing vision cause her to become injured in an accident and have her remains just not been found? Did she attend an ayahuasca ceremony and people are covering up that she could have died from that? Could she have been involved in foul play? That's the question. One of the most recent articles that we found on this case is from January 2022. In the article, her brother says, Carla was a very loving person. She was an adventurer of the world. She was a student of the world. She devoted her life to helping everybody that she came in touch with. Her brother says Peruvian police have haphazardly worked off 2 theories. One, that she had an accident at the archaeological park that was covered up, or the one that he believes, which is that there was foul play, that there was abduction, or that she was murdered. An interviewer asked him, what do you believe the motive would be for her abduction or murder? And he said, I think that comes from a very basic level. I think that there was an opportunist that came across my sister the morning of December 12th, and he wanted to either sexually assault her and rob her, and things went wrong. I do believe that she is buried in the mountains of the Sacred Valley in Peru. He also said the FBI needs to open an international cooperation case. The authorities in Peru need to accept help from the U.S. government. I don't think that I'll ever see my sister again. My family and I have had to deal with that on a very personal level, and it's been very, very difficult. However, we're not giving up. We're doing everything in our power to bring her home, regardless of what state she's in, and eventually we are going to pursue justice. So the U.S. State Department official gave out a statement, and they said, the welfare and safety of U.S. citizens abroad is one of the highest priorities of the Department of State. We are aware of a U.S. citizen missing in Peru. We are in touch with local authorities on their search efforts and remain in close communication with the family. We will continue to closely monitor the situation, but due to privacy considerations, are not going to go into specifics at this time.
Seems like a bit of a non-statement, really.
It seems like, we're dealing with it.
Yeah. And especially because I get there's actually I don't really get it. I was going to say I get there's privacy concerns, but essentially she's a missing person. They could surely give an update into the investigation.
What privacy? Her family's out talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like they're actually giving private details about Carla. They would be giving details about the investigation.
They're acting like it's like HIPAA or something.
Yeah, it's very strange.
I know that people do like these crazy ayahuasca things, but I feel like that kind of came out of left field.
I guess it's just a possibility that they have to discuss, but I feel I also agree she probably met foul play. Someone targeted her because she was vulnerable.
Like saw she had a disability and
took advantage. So the final case we're going to discuss today is the case of missing American man David Sneddon. This is a case I've actually followed forever, as long as I can remember. It's one of the earliest cases that I started following when I got into true crime. And I really feel like this is a case where the truth is crazy, unbelievably stranger than fiction. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
So David Sneddon was a 24-year-old man who went missing in 2004 while he was on vacation in China. He was a BYU student studying Mandarin, which I think is why he traveled to China, and he was last seen in August 2004 in China's Yunnan province. The dates that he was last seen vary. Some reports say August 10 and others say August 14. Doesn't really make a difference, but just to note. He had originally traveled to China to take a summer class and improve his Mandarin. He already spoke fluent Korean and was planning on becoming an international lawyer. This info about David is from Newsweek. It said, David, then 24, was last seen on August 14 in a Korean cafe in Shangri-La, in the city in the Yunnan province of China near the Myanmar border. He had just finished a hike at the Tiger Leaping Gorge and told the owner of the cafe that he was making his way back to Chowto to pick up his bag. I hope that's right. To pick up his bags from a youth hostel and to continue his journey through China. So he traveled for a while through China with his friend George Bailey. The pair separated on August 9 as they had different travel plans. So this was just a few days before David disappeared. George has said that David was a wonderful, adventurous, fun-loving and outgoing person. He said that throughout their stay in China, there'd been no sign of danger. And he said, we both felt very safe. We thought no Chinese would ever touch an American because there would be trouble. So David was last in contact with his family on August 11. I know we said that he may have last been seen on August 10, but he last spoke to his family on August 11. He'd been in touch with them regularly and would write them emails each week. David had plans to meet up with his brother Michael in South Korea on August 26, and when he didn't show up, his family alerted the police. The police went to the hostel where David had been staying. They found his backpack and his plane ticket still there. He apparently only had a fanny pack on him when he was last seen, which his family said he would have been carrying a toothbrush, the Book of Mormon, and a travel guide or a map. There had been no movement on his bank account since early August. David's family traveled to China to search for him. They found a group of tourists who said a, quote, young Westerner who had studied Mandarin at university joined them for about 3 hours in August before leaving out on his own. A Korean woman who owned a cafe in the region where David was last seen said that she had seen him and that she spoke with him in Korean. The woman described David as having meager funds, and after multiple visits to her shop, he told her, goodbye, I am leaving, as he prepared to return home. Chinese authorities initially said that they believed David fell into the Jinsha River. When James Sneddon travelled to the area, though, he said he found this hard to believe. The hiking trail that David had been following was more than 1 mile from the river, which made that scenario unlikely. This info is from the Salt Lake Tribune, and it gives some information about David's alleged plans and the search for him. It said, when David Sneddon disappeared in 2004, he was believed to have fallen and died in Tiger Leaping Gorge. He had left some extra gear with an innkeeper and was planning a 2-day trek through the gorge, which was a rugged and treacherous trail popular with intrepid backpackers. About 200 Chinese searchers combed the gorge. 2 bodies were recovered, but neither turned out to be David, according to a report his family received from the US Embassy in Beijing about a month after he disappeared. So while David's father was searching for him, he became suspicious that the Chinese government may have suspected that David was involved in the Underground Railroad, which was kind of involved in smuggling people out of North Korea through China and eventually to Laos or Cambodia. David had a friend that had been asked to leave China in the past. This info, again, is from the Salt Lake Tribune. It said one of David Sneddon's former mission companions had stayed with him for a few days after the Chinese government asked him to leave the country. So I think that his father kind of was insinuating that maybe the Chinese believed he was involved because of his shady friend and, different things like that.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, the family thought that he was on the radar of possibly North Korea and China. The search for David went on for many, many years. So he went missing in 2004. Over a decade later, in 2016, Yahoo News Japan reported that David had been spotted in North Korea. The article said that he is believed to have lived there, where he works as an English teacher, and he has a wife and 2 children. Following that report, the US State Department announced that they would start searching for David in North Korea. A source told The Independent that David had been kidnapped by North Korean operatives and he'd worked as an English tutor for Kim Jong-un, who was the heir to the country's dictatorship at the time. David's family have said that they believe the Kim regime sought him out because he was fluent in Korean. A man who was living in South Korea married a North Korean defector, and he called the Sneddon family to tell them that he believed he had seen David in Pyongyang. Representative Chris Stewart, who was on the US House Intelligence Committee, said in 2016, the evidence indicates that there are still a lot of unanswered questions about David's disappearance. David's family deserves answers to those questions, and until we find those answers, I will continue urging the State Department to pursue all possible explanations for David's disappearance. A North Korean Foreign Ministry spokesperson denied all of these allegations in October 2016, and they said this is just a plot hatched by the Obama group, destined to sink like the sun setting due to the total bankruptcy in its hostile can't even speak, it's so many words. Due to the total bankruptcy in its hostile policy towards the DPRK, which is North Korea, to dramatize the non-existent human rights issue and to tarnish its international image. We flatly deny and categorically reject this far-fetched assertion as a swindle which does not even deserve a passing note.
Someone sounds defensive.
Kathleen Sneddon, who's David's mother, spoke to the Salt Lake Tribune in 2016. She said, "We as a family are concerned, of course, about David, but our hearts, our thoughts, our prayers go out to the people of North Korea who've been held in subjection without freedoms, without adequate normal essentials for living a pleasant life, food, clothing, or housing. We just feel all of North Korea needs to have something happen there, and we would hope that somehow David being released could help this." So despite them believing as of 2016 that David is in North Korea, as of June 2022, he still remains missing. There hasn't really been much media in the case since 2016. The most recent article I can find is from June 2021, and basically it just says that his brother James Sneddon doesn't believe that David was killed or died in China, and that he believes that he was abducted and taken to North Korea. Kind of interestingly, and on topic to this, I've actually just finished a book by a North Korean defector, Yeonmi Park. I've actually posted about it on my Instagram. It was a really, really interesting read if it's something that you would like to learn more about. She was born in North Korea. Her family lived there, and just their life, I just can't even believe that people are actually living a life like this. It's just horrific. The things that they have to go through, no power, no food. She talks about things like having to eat insects to stay alive, basically. The book is called In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park. I just feel like a lot of people don't actually realize what happens in North Korea and how horrific and terrible it is. Mm-hmm. So, I feel like David's case seems unbelievable because you're like, how could that actually happen? But, it's so hard to get out of North Korea once you're in there. I feel like it could definitely, absolutely be what happened to him.
I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if that was true. I also wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't, but I could definitely see that happening because North Korea's always up to some bullshit, to put it lightly, simply.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I always think about the book. It's quite a short read, but like she ended up escaping through China actually from North Korea, and she's only 28 years old now, so she's lived a real crazy life.
Did she leave her family, or they got out too?
It's a long story. So her father passed away. She escaped with her mother, but they couldn't find her sister for years. Anyway, not to make a spoiler alert, but eventually they found the sister. So she now is back with her mother and her sister, which is good. So, yeah.
Maybe I'll give it a read.
Yeah, definitely check it out if you're looking to learn more about what is just an unbelievable country.
Yeah. On that note, so a little history lesson. That's all we've got for this episode. We might do another Vacation Nightmares one. We were gonna have this be 2 episodes, but then decided to have it be 1. But it's another one where you could find endless stories about terrible things that happen on vacation, sadly. So if you guys are into that, let us know if you want to hear more stories like that. Everything will be on the blog at truecrimesocietyblog.com. Definitely check that out if you want to see pictures, videos, learn more about the cases. Follow us on Instagram. That's where we post the most updates. You can check out our personal accounts, TCS Olivia and Steph Sum _. They're linked in the TCS bio on Instagram. So you can learn a little bit more about us. If you haven't left us a review, a rating, do all that. Please subscribe to the podcast if you're not already, which you should be, because I always ask you very nicely. And as always, please share the podcast, share it to your Instagram stories, tell a friend about it. Sharing is very helpful to us, helps us get more people listening, which is what we live off of, basically. And check out our sponsors. Obviously, they'll be linked in the episode description. If you ever forget any of the codes or anything, just feel free to shoot us a message. But yeah, that's it. Like you said, we will be off next week, so I know that's very sad news. Like, please don't cry too much about it.
Just re-listen to some old episodes to get you through.
Oh yes, definitely listen to them many times. But then we'll be back in action for a long time.
We've got some good things planned. Actually, for the next episode after our break, we'll be talking about 2 kind of cult cases again, Teal Swan and the kind of, I guess, discovery of baby Hollier, who had been missing for 40 years.
Which, like, somehow has a cult involved.
It's got everything. That would be a great
story. But yeah, everyone's really into the cult one, so figured we would do another one, come back with a bang. So look forward to that. All right. Thank you guys for listening. We will talk to you in 2 weeks.
See ya. Bye.